So
Yeah.
I paid attention and I was meditating quite regularly, but I noticed if I stopped for a few days, my emotional health, I didn't feel as good,
Yeah.
my mental health. So I thought, oh, I notice when I meditate, I feel fine. So I just thought, I'm going to keep doing this. And I wasn't having any kind of experiences in the beginning.
Welcome to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tenya Eickenberg, and this is a space where transformation begins. Welcome back to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tenya Eickenberg, and today I have with me Cheryl Stelte. Cheryl, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Tina. It really is such an honor to be here with you. Everything you are doing, you are just such a force.
Oh, thank you so much. I started this podcast because I want people to know that they're not alone in their stories and that transformation, metamorphosis is possible. That there are so many different ways to tap into who we are, to be able to just love the life that we're living and know that we can create whatever it is that we desire.
So true. So true. I am so on board.
So you are a intuitive coach. You help women to tap into their intuition. Can you tell the listeners what your intuition is? Because some might think that it's voices in their head, it's a voice from their heart, it's a feeling, it's a knowing. There's so many different ways that people will say this is what your intuition is. Based on what you have experienced, how would you explain what somebody's intuition is?
What a great question. And the first thing I'm going to say what intuition is not in the early stages is the development of the third eye. And the reason I say that is because the early stages of intuition are often how your body feels. Our bodies are so wise. Our bodies contain our inner knowing. Our bodies respond, and we are so conditioned to not trust our bodies knowing. So that's one of the first ways to develop your intuition is to notice how your body responds to certain even ideas. Say if you're choosing between yellow and blue, whatever it is, notice how your body responds to it. Does your body feel lighter when you're making a yes choice, or does it feel heavy, or worse, constricted, contracted? As soon as you have that, you know something is not right. So learning to then trust your body and trust your inner knowing and let the mind catch up.
Mhm.
Let the mind catch up. Because when we just listen to our minds, like something in our heads, thought is the weakest sense of knowing. It really is through feeling or just that aha moment. And when you do that, you become in alignment with, I could say, with your heart, your body, and your head, and let the head be the last one to step in there.
Mhm.
I think of fear comes up with our intuition so much. And I learned to trust the fear. So my body, I might get burning in my belly or extreme tension in my body or sort of a heightened response. And a lot of people could read that as, no, I shouldn't do the thing I'm thinking of, or no, that's not right for me. But if you breathe through the fear, because the fear is just the conditioning, the
Right.
fear has nothing to do with who you truly are. And you release that fear, what I would say, breathe through it. Then you can tap into your inner knowing. And it's like things just open up for you.
And I love that you took it back to the body. I love that you took it back to feeling the emotions that your body is showing you, because that is another conditioning that a lot of us have gone through growing up, right? Because the old children should be seen and not heard. And so, often as children, we get kind of pushed away when our feelings start to come up. It's, hey, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. Or, you tell your parents you're scared and they're like, oh, it's nothing. There's nothing there. Just, get over it. And so we learn to suppress those feelings, meaning we learn to suppress our intuition at such early ages, not at the not that our parents are meaning to do that. They're coming from their own conditioning on how to deal with all of that stuff coming up. But I love that you brought it back to just sit and feel what your body's doing. Practice paying attention to the good and maybe not so good sensations that are coming through your body. Was that how did you start to tap in? Was that how you started to tap into your intuition, or did something else happen before you got to that point that was like, oh, maybe this is where I need to go. Maybe this is what I need to do.
Uh, yes and yes. So, so I had a very transformative spiritual experience on the beach one day, 32 years ago, where my deceased brother's spirit came to visit me on the beach, and he had taken his life at the age of 30. And
Mm,
my girlfriend was with me, and we both had our eyes closed, and she was practicing kinesiology on me, there was nothing spiritual in my world except I was raised Catholic. But that opened my eyes to knowing that there's something more, because she felt his presence and then named it when I was in this experience of him as this huge ball of loving light.
mhm,
And so that opened me up. And his message was to start meditating. Well, what happened through meditation was I started doing something that I teach today, that I learned about 15 years how it affects the brain, and that's using a long, full breath with your lower abdomen when you're meditating, because it helps you tap into your subconscious. So for me, what started coming up were memories, all these repressed emotions, because like most people, I think really we all have our own conditioning.
yeah.
We all have that. And we are all functioning from subconscious survival patterns that were formed long before we even had language for them. So that was me. And these things just started presenting themselves, and I started to heal myself. And so I became very in tune to my body through meditation, the responses, the tightening, the tension, the heat, whatever it was, the tingling, the burning sensations, all of that, and became curious about what was stored in there. So my spiritual path and the development of my intuition has been all about healing and releasing what is not true. All the conditioning is not true, to discover who I truly am, and the truth of my being and the truth of other people's beings. So when I do a lot of readings. I do chakra readings. I'm a medium. I don't even advertise that at all. You won't find that anywhere, but I am. And I don't just sit there and tune into my third eye like
Mhm.
many psychics, many mediums do. I am in my body. And when I'm doing a psychic reading, for example, I become you. I'm experiencing, I merge with you and your being, and I feel into your body for you. And I feel into what's true, and I do get the visuals. I have the clairaudience, I'm clairvoyant, I'm clairsentient. I've developed those.
You got them all.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm all of them, but it's just through the practice, and it's normal, it's natural
Yeah.
for us to be that. And so but it started in the body. And that's why I say, if you want to develop your intuition, start trusting your body. And then what happens, when I read somebody's third eye, I can tell if you have really great intuition. and you're not following it. You're not trusting it because the back of the third eye doesn't get developed. With people who really trust their intuition, the back of the third eye becomes very bright, just like the front.
Interesting. And I love how you were curious because in being Catholic and being curious about um the stuff that's going on that kind of turns you in towards more of a spiritual journey as opposed to a religious journey. Were there like was there conflicting Cheryls that were like, I don't know about this? Or
Uh,
did you just jump in head first going go big or go home?
well, uh, there was no conflict in the beginning because my brother had taken his life. He was severely depressed, if not bipolar, and wasn't diagnosed. And I had just gone on antidepressants. I was diagnosed with severe depression and was on antidepressants for 3 months. And 32 years ago, that was a new
Yeah.
thing. It was brand.
Yeah.
And I realized that this meditation was helping me feel better. So I was committed. I didn't like how I felt on the medication. So I just thought I'm going to keep doing this. And within a few months, I went off the antidepressants, and my doctor he totally advised me not to do it. And I'm not telling people to do this.
Right, right.
Nope.
You took your health into your own hands.
Yes, I did.
You didn't just take what somebody else in a white coat was telling you as truth.
Right.
You're like that I don't feel good on these.
That's
So I'm not going to do something that doesn't feel good.
so
Yeah.
I paid attention and I was meditating quite regularly, but I noticed if I stopped for a few days, my emotional health, I didn't feel as good, my
Yeah.
mental health. So I thought, oh, I notice when I meditate, I feel fine. So I just thought, I'm going to keep doing this. And I wasn't having any kind of experiences in the beginning. But what my body was doing, it was going into a long, full breath. And I believe that conditioning came from growing up in Alberta where it's really cold. And as a child, I discovered that when it was, minus 20, minus 25, and I'm walking to a friend's place and you get chilled to the bone,
Hmm.
I would shiver and shake. And I noticed if I took long breaths, my body would relax and I
Mm.
wouldn't feel as cold. So my body developed this coping mechanism. So if I was feeling tense or anything like that, through the meditation, the full breath just became a part of it naturally. And what happens is when we take long, full breaths, our belly is expanding and contracting and we really slow the breath down. It changes the brain function.
Hmm.
Our normal breathing goes from the brainstem or the medulla oblongata to the frontal lobal brain, and it frees up the medulla oblongata, which gives us access to our subconscious. So I started having all these things that came up and these emotions, and I would cry, and these emotions would be released, and I'd be feeling like $1 million. And so I was just so game for all this and continued on. And then I was exposed to shamanism within a matter of months and started studying and practicing shamanism. And it just went on from there. So I have, decades of
Yeah.
different healing modalities and spiritual practices. And
Yeah. I always tell my clients that meditation is one of the non-negotiables that everybody should be doing is learning to just sit with themselves. You can do guided if you're guided to that, and there's so many different meditations that you can do. Um, but it seems to be one of the hardest things for people to do is to just sit with themselves. And with that, learning to trust their intuition is another step of that people are so afraid of being in control of themselves. Do you have a theory as to why some people are just so afraid of trusting themselves?
Ah, um, yes, and meditation to me is foundational. I will tell you, all my clients, and most of them meditate these days, most of them have practices for years, and they come for a higher level of growth and that sort of thing. But the ones who already meditate do twice as well, if not 10 times as well as those who have never meditated.
Hmm.
So it's foundational. Once you can do that, and then I teach all sort of different practices, people's growth is radical.
Yeah.
People's growth is radical. And so what happens, why it's so difficult, we are not conditioned to go inward. We're usually not conditioned to trust our inner knowing. We grow up often with parents who are wounded,
Hmm.
and they're doing their best and they're trying to teach us and help us be the best people possible. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just so messed up,
Right.
can hardly even pay attention to us. So as soon as we start to go inward, sometimes it feels great in the beginning. We might do a wonderful meditation that's filled with light and peace and calm and all the music, which often is a distraction from who we really are. Sure, there's a part of us that's like that. But when we're quiet and we really open ourselves up to what's truly going on, we're faced with the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Hmm.
the everything. And it's not easy. And we get scared. It feels uncomfortable. No, I don't want to know that, because so many of us for hundreds of years have been conditioned to not feel our emotions. And science today has proven that trauma, our wounding, is encoded in the subconscious, in the right side of the brain through physical sensations and emotions. And so we feel safe in our thinking mind. Think, 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 think. That's not physical
Yeah.
sensations and emotions. So as
Yeah.
soon as we open ourselves up to feeling what's been repressed, both in the body and emotionally, stuff is going to come up. And if we don't have the skills, the practice of processing that, it's a scary place. So I teach people how to become their own energy workers and process all that repressed stuff quickly, safely, and easily. Is it super easy? Definitely not. But you learn that it's temporary and you can get through it, and the rewards far exceed the discomfort.
100%. I could not agree with you more. What is one thing that you can share with the listeners that they can do right now to help to start tapping into their intuition, to start letting go of some of those blocks that are blocking them from being able to tap into themselves?
Yes, let's take a few seconds and do this right now. Thank you for
Perfect.
asking, Tenya. So I invite you to sit up straight. And the reason we want to sit up straight, there's all these energetic pathways that run up and down the spine. So we want to be vertical. I do not consider lying down on your back meditation ever. You also want to have your feet firmly planted on the floor. That is ideal, connected to the earth, nice and grounded with your head high. And we're going to do some full breaths. That is the key. This is the magic to help you tune into yourself really well. So I invite you all to put your hand on your lower belly. Put your thumb right on your navel with your hand below it. And relax your shoulders. You can roll them around a bit, even stretch them back, open up the chest, open up the heart, relax the body. And I invite you to take a long inhale and let your belly blow up like a balloon. So your body's relaxed. There's no sucking in your gut here. And then you exhale and you squeeze the abdominal muscles, releasing all the air. So you squeeze your belly at the end to expel all the air, and you let that flow into an inhale again. And then it's ideal to count 6 or 8 seconds on the inhale and 6 or 8 seconds on the exhale. So your brain function changes with that, and you start to go inward. And just know you can start to notice what's happening in your body. And don't think for a minute that meditation is about getting rid of all thoughts. I've been doing this 32 years. I've never mastered getting rid of all thoughts. Yes, I go through phases where thought is not there and I am just in experience and presence and being. But don't worry about that. You notice a thought and you go back to the breath. And sometimes there might be a thought like, it could be derogatory. Oh, nobody cares about me. And you can breathe into that thought and be curious about it. How does that thought feel? What's the emotion that comes with it? And see if you can label the emotion, and we can go on and on. And this is what leads to true healing, access to who you truly are. But it's starting with that full breath.
I love that. Incredibly relaxing. So relaxing that my cat decided she was going to join in.
Oh, that's wonderful. And we'll put in the show notes, I have 3 powerful meditations that teach you how to do this. There's 2 on the full breath and then 1 on creating safety and stability in the root chakra, which has for years been my most listened to meditation.
Oh, love that. Wonderful. I want to shift a little bit from the intuition to you talked a little bit about confidence in the notes that you gave me. How do you help individuals to feel confident without pretend, like, what was the question? It was where did it go? Hold on. I just had it. Oh, how can someone build their inner strength without pretending to be confident? So how can they build that confidence without feeling like they're just pretending?
Well, first is to recognize, are you confident or do you have a lot of self-doubt, a lack of clarity? Are you feeling insecure? Notice how your body feels. So confidence is a relaxed body. I have so many people that come to me, my body's always tense. That's what, we go on anti-anxiety medication because we're always anxious. So it's how do you get there? So if you remember that confidence is really, it's moving from feeling confused, self-doubt, a lack of trust in yourself, a lack of trust in life, and a lack of inner stability. All those things. Confidence is the opposite of that. It's when we learn to trust ourselves fully. It's when we feel stable no matter what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's we don't get the big triggers when certain people say things. And so what it is, it's we all have these wounds, various traumas, and I want to speak to trauma for a moment. And yes, I get a lot of people who have had the trauma of sexual abuse, abandonment, neglect, all sorts of things. But the number one trauma that all my clients have is the lack of an emotional resource when they were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody there to help them fully process their emotions in a safe way. Often they were shut down, they learned to repress their emotions. So moving into confidence is being able to learning the skills to process your emotions in a safe and easy way, to have the resilience and to have people in your life that are supportive and who are there for you. So the self-doubt starts to diminish, and the things that once triggered you no longer trigger you, and you see that, oh, that's just their stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, they're learning through that. And we start to learn to trust ourselves. And it's, I spoke about the meditation just now, creating safety and stability in the root chakra. We cannot feel confident when we don't feel safe and stable in the world.
Hmm.
And we must develop that safety and stability so that fear does not become automatic and we are not reactive, so that we are responsive and that we are in tune and in alignment with our truth.
I, I could not, again, I couldn't agree more. One of the things I always tell my clients is we want to get you to the point where you're not reacting, but you're responding. You're aware of what's happening around you instead of going through the motions and going through the event and at the end going, I don't know what just happened. You kind of get that blank look on your face when you're just like, what just happened? And sometimes there's yelling going on, or there's definitely stress and other stuff. But when you can stop and take a breath and be able to respond, and like you said, see other people, they're reacting, and you can say, I wonder what they went through that is causing them to react in that way. Because you start to understand that everybody's coming from their own experiences, they're coming from their own traumas, and that really how they're reacting has nothing to do with us.
That's right. It's so true how they're reacting. And there's sort of two phases to this. One is using the mind and recognizing, oh, they're reacting. I'm not going to get hooked, but we're likely already triggered.
Right.
So the second, and what I deal with more, is let's heal at the deepest layers. Remember, I said in the beginning that most of us are functioning from
Mhm.
subconscious survival patterns that were formed long before we even had language for them, pre-memory, pre-verbal, often as early as in the womb. So
Yeah.
I help people heal at that level, and then they're exposed to the same triggers, but there's no trigger.
Yeah.
There's no need to think differently. It's like, oh wow, this happened and I was totally calm. Wow, that's amazing. And so you're already used to feeling into your body, and then there's the celebration. Oh, that just is. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with me.
Yeah. And with that, you can then start to set the boundaries you need to set. You can start to forgive people for things that they did in your past, because you now have that knowledge and that perception of, oh, wait, it really had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with where they were coming from.
I love that you brought up the boundaries, because then you can set the boundaries, and you are setting boundaries can come from a place of feeling anxious. Oh, I have to set a boundary. I read this book. I'm
Mhm.
going to do this. I know I'm so codependent. Okay, what's my boundary? And we figure it out, and then we set the boundary. But our body is in tension, and we're still angry.
Right.
We're still hurt, but we're
Right.
setting this boundary, and there's nothing healthy about it except that there is a boundary. We're
Yeah.
so triggered where what you're speaking to is, oh, I'm relaxed and calm, and the boundary just becomes naturally. Oh, it just comes naturally. I'm not prepared to tolerate this anymore. I will engage with you when things are going this way, and when things are not, I'm not engaging anymore.
Yeah.
And it's from a place of inner peace and calm and trust in yourself.
Yep.
And that's really, when you talk, it's designing your existence naturally. Designing your existence so it unfolds. And yes, I want more of this in
Yeah.
my life. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you, Tina.
Yeah. In the way that you were describing the boundaries when you're setting them in anxiety versus in calmness is also, you when you were describing it coming from a state of calmness, you also gave the boundary, like the stipulation of, like, I'm not going to take this, and if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And when you were explaining it from a state of anxiety, you didn't give the consequence. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is they set these rigid boundaries of like, you can't treat me that way. And they walk away when they're in that state of anxiety. But we're in that state of calm. We can say, you're not allowed to treat me that way. And when you do, this is what's going to happen.
Yes.
And so it very, very clear definitions of how boundaries are set when you come from two different places. So I hope you listeners are taking note, because that is how you set a boundary. Is you set the boundary, but you give the consequences, because they need to know that, yes, I have this boundary, but as long as you don't do this, this won't happen.
That's right. And it's all about processing all your emotions first, coming
Mm-hmm.
to a place of peace and knowing within yourself, and then it's really easy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Cheryl, as we bring this conversation to a close, is there anything that you want the listeners to know or to hear that we did not cover?
Yes, I want you to know that you're powerful beyond belief, powerful beyond what you can imagine. And the real and true you, the true version of you and who you're meant to be, you absolutely cannot imagine. And the reason you can't imagine who you truly are is because you don't have the context. You still are just in a certain amount of subconscious survival patterns. And when those are diminished, you will be blown away with who you actually are. And that's what I help people with.
I love that. I love it. It is so needed. It is so needed, because we as uh, Gen X. I try not to like put us into these groups, but we are becoming the older population, and they are really starting to we're really starting to expand and grow out of our childhood trauma. And the future generations have learned a lot from our generation having to process all of that stuff. And so I thank you for doing the work, because you're helping the generation that we live in, but you're helping future generations by clearing out all of that stuff moving forward. So
Yeah.
where can women find you to work with you?
One of the easiest ways is click the link to the meditations, and then you will hear from me. Then you can reach out to me via email. I'm on Instagram, uh, on LinkedIn a little bit. I'm not on Facebook very much, if at all. But you can go to my website, starofdivinelight.com, because we are all stars of divine light. So starofdivinelight.com. And you can hop on there. There's a lot of resources. You can book an insight session. Like I said earlier, I do chakra readings and everything. I have a number of programs. And I always start working with people one-on-one before I do group, because it's really about doing the deep work. And I find I'm all about going deep. That's what
Yeah.
people always, wow, nobody goes as deep as you, Cheryl. And and so we're going to go deep and release all these things. You'll discover who you are. And then a lot of people want to continue afterwards. And then we can do group together, because you're different and
Yeah.
yeah. So I do that. And I even, in an insight session, you get one psychic hit from me. And so I just love getting to know people and meeting. So those are all the ways. Thank you.
Awesome. Cheryl, thank you so much.
Tenya, it's really been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every single step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to the life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many listeners. For more tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you give to yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.